Good morning and welcome to this fourth webinar in the series of 4 on the Academia Student Information System. Let me introduce the Academia team who will be involved in the discussion this morning. Denzel Jones is a Senior Project Manager for the Academia team in South Africa, and he manages projects like the Academia implementation at the University of Stellenbosch. Romano Domingo is an Account Manager for the Academia team at IFOCorp. My name is Annie Spangenberg and I'm the General Manager for Student Information Systems, including the Academia Student Information System at IFOCorp. And supporting us today is our marketing team who will set up the recording of this webinar after the session, and a big thank you for their support as always. Before we start, I will assume that your microphones are on mute and your videos are off. But to make sure that this is not just an anonymous participation, you are welcome to post your name, your country, and your institution name in the chat box, and we will introduce everybody as we go along in the session. For questions and comments, please use the chat box, which we will address then at the end of the webinar. You're also welcome to put your video on when we address these questions. This webinar will be recorded and we will send the recording out to all the participants after the webinar. You are also welcome to request the recordings of the previous webinars in this series, even if you have not attended these webinars. So as always, before we start, let us look at the bigger picture of where does this fit into your institution's picture. So this is the fourth webinar. We had 3 already. The one was on the user experience of the Academia system. Then we spoke about the customization, the configuration and integrations in the second webinar. In the third webinar, we touched on technology and hosting, and that brings us to today's cost efficiency. These are very high level webinars because you can only do so much in a 40-minute period on a system. And the request is so that if you want to see detail on any of these different aspects of the system or on what does academia look like and how will it benefit your institution, please let us know and we will gladly have a one-to-one or an individual discussion with your institution. Then, academia fits into the picture of a bigger picture of the IFOCorp institution. I think I want us to just quickly look at where does IFOCorp fit into your picture. Now, a lot of you have seen this before, and apologies for those of you that are just repeating every time, but it's also important to know that IFOCorp is a company that has been in business for 20 years in the African and especially South African education sector, and we have clients across many of the African countries. In all countries marked in purple, you will see those are the countries where we already have clients. We are servicing a lot of institutions and a lot of students and a lot of academic and administrative personnel via the systems that we bring to your institution. So what do we do as IFOCorp? We manage the student experience via different best-of-breed product sets that we have that then complete the student cycle for you as an institution. Starting off with DigiCamera, which is our own LMS offering, including a SIS offering, and that manages the whole process of LMS open source implementation, the rollout of the courses at the institution and how to put that in your LMS, hosting of that. We offer digital teaching and learning courses, which are CETA accredited, content development, a total solution on setting up and maintaining, as well as hosting the learner management system for your institution. And this DigiCamera offering, please go and read. There's a lot of other things included, like our student information system for smaller institutions and other platforms. Then, of course, Turnitin, which is a very well-known product in the university sector, which is for plagiarism detection, and it maintains your academic integrity in the institution. We also have Modolabs, a powerful platform or framework that you can use to design your own apps for all your stakeholders. What's different about Modo apps is that you don't have to have coding skills or technical skills in your institution to design these apps, the framework or the platform takes that control away from you as an institution, or that level of work away from the institution. It also posts it to the Android and the Apple Store, and you can just do the design with plug and play of these different applications for your stakeholders. And then, of course, lastly, the academia system, which is actually the beginning of this total student cycle that manages the administration and the finances of the institution. That is just a few to mention this a grouping of products that we have to manage your cycle, and academia fits into this picture, although it can also be used as a standalone. It fits into this picture of managing the 360-degree cycle of a student at the institution. Okay, so I think let's get to academia and see where does that fit into your picture before we specifically look at what is the cost effectiveness of academia. Academia is a system designed by Cerosoft, whose headquarters is based in India, but also a company with 50 years of experience and a lot of experienced personnel. Academia has been in the industry for 10 years. They have 200 customers globally, so there's a far reach. It's not a new system, but it's built on technology that makes it very new. So what is academia? It's a robust, feature-rich, analytic-equipped, user-friendly system that is built on cutting-edge technology and flexible architecture. And I think all of these words are usually the words when you look at what should you look at when you choose a system that will be there and relevant in your sector for the next 20 years. Because all of these things like cloud-enabled, configurable, multi-center capabilities, so you can have multiple companies on the same system, mobile apps that is embedded in the system. All of those things are the things that you need to look out for when you want to decide which SIS will be best fitted for my institution. What does academia do? It manages your cycle. So from campaigns and inquiries, your admission and registration process, right through to examinations and completion of your student cycle, managing all the different components of that cycle. Then, of course, it also manages the student finances, the payment and the setting up of the fees, and the scholarship management. And these two mainstream cycles in the student management system is then strongly supported by the communication level of the academia system, which is a very strong, well-designed level that makes sure that you as an institution have the capability to communicate easily with technology at hand to the stakeholders. And we've looked at those in the previous session a lot. So if you have queries about that, please ask, and we can always touch on that a bit. But for today, let's focus on the cost efficiency of the academia system. 5 years ago, if you looked at tenders or if you looked at SISs, the buzzword was make sure you get a system that is cost effective. If you look at cost effectiveness, that is the ability to use the resources, so that's the cost of the system, to achieve the objectives, that's the outcomes of the system. What can the system do? And that was a good argument to have 5 years ago, but the market has changed, and now you're not looking at how cost effective is this SIS that we're looking at, but how cost efficient is the system. Because cost efficiency is the ability to use less resources, cheaper, to achieve a greater output. Now, if we look at the less resources, where does this have an effect in your system? Your initial implementation project cost, of course, that's the start of usually where you start to pay for the system. Your recurring annual maintenance and support cost of the system, the cost of customization and system additions, many times a factor that is overlooked, and only later on the cost of this is realized. The cost of hosting your system, depending on the platform where it is hosted in. The human resource cost, and that comes with the implementation project, so the first cycle of the use of the system, up until continuous training in the system and how easy is it to use the system. Those are all things that you must look at when deciding, is this system less resource intensive? To achieve the greater outcome, So then where does that outcome lie? Of course, that outcome lies with your stakeholder satisfaction, the operational ease of the system, the ease of reporting, academic excellence that you want to achieve with this outcome, all things that is part of your question around, is this system cost efficient when we look at the SIS? And therefore, an SIS may be cost effective, but that does not necessarily make it cost efficient. And you as an institution has got the responsibility to ask, are we choosing something that where we can have less resources in the sense of money and human resources to achieve a greater output with our SIS? So if we look at cost efficiency, what do we want to address? Now, there's a lot of stakeholders that is relevant in the institution, but for this session, let's look at the challenges in the management process, the management as a stakeholder. They usually have challenges around inefficient and time-consuming processes, something that is absolutely controlled by your SIS. The lack of data and visibility, poor stakeholder management, because they again have stakeholders that they need to report to government bodies and statutory regulators and top management. There's a lot of people that they again have to report to on the system. Complex management activities. How easy or difficult is it to do a simple action on the system? High communication costs, that is definitely a management challenge because especially in this time, cost is one of the first questions asked around any software. Unstructured reporting, that is one of the things that can irritate management immensely if you do not have the ability to draw structured reports from your SIS. Higher time, effort, and monetary investment while achieving lower productivity. I think that is one of the biggest questions that's usually asked around this. How can we use a system that gives us higher productivity while inputting less time, effort, and monetary investment? And it's achievable. It's not that difficult. You must just make sure that when you look at systems, you ask the right questions and you look at the right factors within this determination process. So what do you want to address? Looking for a system that facilitates the flow of information to assist the processes of the institution. At the end of the day, the software is there to serve you as an institution. You are not there to serve the software. And the software that you use must facilitate your business processes in the institution. To provide a business platform by which the institution can manage and integrate its important processes. You do not want to have divisions that runs on silos or that sits on an island with the data, and there is no integration between the data and the processes in this one cycle of managing your student. To collect and build data from various levels of the institution's academic process. Again, that comes in with silos. You have different divisions. Of course, you want to be able to draw level through from inquiries up until graduation put through. What is the relationship between that data? And that you can only do if you have this data on one single combined platform. Easy access to data and information via mobile applications. We're going to touch on technology. We had a session on technology. So looking at cost efficiency via the technology that is used by the system that you decide on. And of course, to make your student management process leaner and meaner, you want to be better off once you've chosen a system and not make your life more difficult to manage, or the problems that you get from managing the system becomes more and not less. So if you choose right, where will that lead? Improved data management, the operations of the institution will of course be improved. The university and college can just run smoother. Definitely improve reporting for management level. Your stakeholder management, very, very important, because at the end of the day, the stakeholders are the people that critique you and sometimes also pay the money that keeps that institution running. Student communication, one of your biggest stakeholders are your students. How do you communicate with them? Do you have a system that is efficient to communicate with them? On cost level, because there's a lot of technology to communicate, but what will it cost you from a system level to communicate with them? Empowering and driving your academic staff. At the end of the day, you want to retain the loyalty of the academic staff within your SIS. The increased return on investment that you can see via your student applications, your lecturer retention, stakeholder satisfaction. Very easy to see that if you've chosen right when you look at the system that you are using. Increased cost savings. You want to spend less and less on the system and not more and more every year. Okay, so that is the principle behind what is the difference between cost efficiency and cost effectiveness. So what does academia bring to the table with regards to cost savings? In a SIS project, there are a few factors that usually influences the cost. And we're very quickly going to go through them and just touch on each of them to see how they can influence the efficiency of the system that you choose. Let's start with technology. The academia system uses open source technologies like MySQL and Java. Of course, that saves you money. It's not a platform that you have to purchase and that you have to pay usually annual costs for maintaining that platform. There's no additional hardware and operating system costs in the hosted environment. So Microsoft Azure is where academia is hosted on. That includes things like automated backups, disaster recovery, and there is no additional cost that you have to pay on an annual basis for that service. Device independency. Cost saving, of course, comes from making sure that all your stakeholders can use any device to use the system. This is just an example of what is the lecture report to see the look and feel via technology can be individualized per user type. So you want to make sure that whatever you use from technology level is not dependent on a specific device, but allows the type of user to change that look and feel depending on what device they use and to effectively be able to use any device. We know, statistics has shown us that generation above 40, they still prefer a laptop and they prefer to work in an environment where they can use a bigger screen. The generations younger than that, they use small devices. They don't mind about the size of the device. They will literally, from the inquiry stage up until graduation, do everything on their smartphone. Your SIS must make provision for that without being an extra cost factor in the project. Academia has got an app included in the implementation of the system that you can use as communication method with your students. Any of the academia system functionality can run on any device, and that is where your technology is a factor in the cost efficiency of the system. Let's look at licensing, maintenance and support. So those are the once-off and the recurring costs that's usually within an implementation project. What influences the license, the maintenance and the support cost of a system? The data used and the hosting, the database used and the hosting platform. Of course, we host in Microsoft Azure. There's no additional cost to you from academia side. If you use an expensive database, it will be an annual recurring cost that you have to pay. The technology that you use for development. Academia uses open source technology. That will always be a cost-efficient way for an institution to look at the system. Also, how easy is it to learn and to use the system? Because that converts to man hours and training hours in the implementation and ongoing usage of the system process. How easy it is to change the system? We all know that customization can be very, very expensive in a project. So how easy is it to change the system? We've looked at this many times in the previous sessions where academia has the ability where you can add fields to screens as an institution without any intervention from us as vendors. You can arrange or rearrange the sequence of fields on your screens. You can hide fields from screens when you want to run a report. You can literally choose the fields, and I will show you one example of that in the design or the choosing of that report, and you can customize the report right away. Academia has the ability for you as an institution to do these changes, a lot of these things, without intervention and cost from a vendor side. How easy is it to add functionality to the system? Same argument as above. If you want to add functionality to the system, some things you can add on your own. But if you then need your vendor company to add that, how difficult and costly is it? And that again comes back to what database do you use, because that is that determines or influences the implementation and the design factor or timeline of new functionality. Very important, what is the upgrade methodology of the system? We all know that when you look at the upgrade methodology of a system, there's an easy and a difficult way to do this. In the previous session, we looked at academia, which follows an agile upgrade methodology compared to the traditional waterfall methodology. Waterfall is an expensive way to upgrade your system because it's time consuming. Once every 36 months, you put off, everybody stop to work, you put off the service, and it costs you a lot of money to upgrade the system. The agile methodology that academia follows, it is a constant release of new functionality that makes it easy for you as an institution to implement it, to keep up to date with what have changed in the system. And as we said in the previous session, your end users do not wait for 36 months to get the newest functionality in the system or the newest technology that's available in the market as it has been deployed in the system. So of course, the upgrade methodology is a factor that influences the cost and makes your system efficient in the rollout of the new releases. The third thing that we're going to look at is the implementation cycle or the implementation process when you implement a SIS project. So why is implementation cost important? When you look at cost saving, that's actually a very easy one because time equals money, which in this case equals on-site costs and institution resources. So every day that the implementation of your system takes longer than necessary, it costs you money, it costs you resources, it costs you on-site travel allowances, so there's a lot of recurring costs or rollover costs that comes from the implementation of the system project. Academia is an easy and quick to implement system because of the technology that it has been written in. And again, we come back to the previous sessions, and I'm not going to come to repeat everything from the previous sessions, but the technology that we use makes it easy and quick to implement the system. The implementation model that we use makes it easy and quick to implement the system, which results in a time and money saving factor for you as an institution. We use data sheets for the creation of data, a very quick and efficient way to get your existing data into the system before you start to use the system, and compared to the older models where you have to first go through the training of the system and then you're doing the data entry into your new system. The data sheets is a very effective way to get your data in the system. Then we follow a modular implementation, training different models and go live with them as you go along. Much easier for your institution to manage your resources that is relevant or involved in the project in that way. Academia uses a friendly interface, which is quick to learn and which is a known look and feel for the end user. So it is not a scary experience for new users that start to use the system. It's also easy to understand the system from an operational user side. There's many factors that helps the end user to understand the system easier, like your menu structure that's divided into groupings of options, and it shows you in an easy way how to guide through the system. Of course, your portals that you have for the end users. So of all the stakeholders that's got portals, those portals makes it very easy for the users to be able to follow what are the things that they must monitor and act on relevant to their environment. This makes it quick to learn the system, which makes it, of course, cost efficient because you don't have to spend that that amount of money and time on the implementation process unnecessarily. So this is just an example of one of the menus, and you can see that the menus are grouped together. This is an example of the admission screen. So there's your settings, then there's the forms that you will create and complete, there's your fees and refunds that you set up, your selection process, and then your reporting. And for you to train and to get to know the system, it's easy to go and look for options or to know where to search for options in these categorized menu structure options. And that is one of the things that makes it easy for the end user, especially if it's somebody that does not regularly work on the system, to find their way in the system. And this is just one of many, many ways in which it makes it easier. So the rule of thumb here is keep it simple. Today's organizations are flooded with data. So documents, spreadsheets, physical mails, emails, shared files, and that list just goes on. Any solution, any SIS that you bring to the table should help you to simplify your company or institution's processes and data and not add to the chaos, to make sure the solution you are offering, academia which we are offering, will really help the organization cut through the clutter and help them harness their data in a practical way. So it's these easy guidelines to follow if you want to decide, is this a best solution or the best solution from an institution? Academia allows you to organize your flood of data. It makes it easy, it simplifies your processes and not add to the chaos. It makes sure that the solution that we are offering will help your organization to cut through the clutter. So we tick these boxes, and it's important that you, in your decision making of a system, make sure that the system that you look at tick these boxes on an operational level. So we've looked at technology, we've looked at the implementation of the system, how that is a cost factor, licensing, maintenance and support of the system, which is a recurring cost factor. Let us look at the customization of the system. In my view, this is usually one of the things that is left out in, well, not the things, it's always discussed, but one of the costs that is left out in the initial discussion of a SIS. But it can also be one of the biggest cost factors when deciding on a SIS or maintaining your SIS that you have decided on. Because no institution takes a system just as it is and does not have the need to customize on anything. And therefore, customization must be a process that you can afford and that is easy enough to do in your SIS that you choose. So how does academia help you to save cost when customizing? It gives you as the institution or the user the ability to customize within a process, whereby it means that you do not have to go back to the vendor every time for a small customization that you want to do. So when we implement the system, we start off with already customizing the system for your processes. Let's take the example of the application office, your online applications. That application form is from the start with the implementation of the system, customized to fit the needs on how do you want your application process to look like. It's not a predefined form that is fixed in a certain way. It's 100% customized based on your individual institution and how do you want to do your application process. Usually, a system comes with this fixed templates and then you have to customize and pay for each of these small things that's different from how your process is. And that is one of the things that you immediately pick up in the academia system, is that customization is part of the standard implementation process. Then the customizing of information to the end users. We've also looked at these points in the previous sessions. I'm not going to spend too much time on them, but the dashboards that you deploy, that you can customize per end user or per stakeholder to decide what information you want to show to them. But they also have the ability to customize their own dashboards, hide some fields, hide some dashboards that they do not want to monitor at a specific stage, and only make sure that they see and monitor the things that is relevant to them as an end user. That they can do themselves. Customizing of screens, we spoke about. You as an institution can add fields to screens that is only relevant to your business processes. You can hide fields from the existing screens if it's fields that you do not want to clutter your screens with and it's not within your processes to enter that data. You can hide fields from screens when you implement the system. The customizing of reports, very easy for each and every end user. Every time that they want to run a report, to look at the field that is available for display in this report, choose the ones that you now want to download or generate data from for your report and generate your report. There is no customization needed from a software side for you to customize your reports every time that you run them. A very efficient and user-friendly way in which you can display your reports. So this is one of the examples that I want to show you on the screens. If you as an institution decide that we do not use, let's take alternative number, you can hide that field from your screens. If you decide with implementation, we do not use the word title, we use salutation. That field name can be changed in the implementation process without any additional costs. This is one of the things that makes academia very cost efficient. You have so much control in the process of implementing the system to customize the system cost-free to fit what you as an institution want to see and how you want to use that. Another example here is when you want to generate a report or when you want to display screens. The same principle applies. I'm a lecturer, I'm looking at a dashboard that shows my courses or my subjects that I have. Again, if I as an institution, if we don't use course but subject, with implementation that wording is just changed in your implementation process. But this is the fields that is shown. I don't want to see all of these fields on my screen because I don't monitor all of this data. And then it's very easy for me as an individual to simply click on some of these fields, hide them, and my screen will be customized based on what I want to see. As easy as that, and as I said, I don't want to spend time on that, but we've looked at that in detail. Very simple and efficiently for you as an institution and an end user to customize the system around your own individual needs. The same goes for the customization of the system for statutory and legislative requirements. Those things are easily added. Why? Because of the technology that was used in academia. Easy to maintain and easy to change technology that allow us to quickly customize instead of sometimes this very long, very painful process to get anything changed in the system. Integrations, customization for integrations, that is a big cost factor if you cannot do that from your system easily. Now, academia is deployed with a very long list of predefined APIs, and there is a lot of expertise in the academia team to do integrations to any of the systems that you as an institution want to integrate to. If there's no existing API, it's easy then to just design one. So that is a very easy way for you to save costs without going through a very difficult process. The next process that we're going to look at, and I actually spoke about that is a bit, which is a big cost factor when you look at the efficiency of cost in your SIS decision, is your upgrades. So we spoke about the waterfall upgrade, which is a huge cost factor, downtime, training of the users, break in productivity. While Agile, the way in which academia is released, it is a seamless process. If we do an Agile release every 3 months, it's a seamless, no downtime process. The users does not have to wait this long period before they get the changes. And again, you can only do that from a software side if the technology that you use does allow for it. And it is available in your development strategy of the software. Academia has been designed like that from the start. Okay, So if you look at these different factors, technology, the customization, upgrades, implementation, licensing and maintenance, that makes it efficient and effective because the two is embedded, but more cost efficient in using the student system of academia. The right question to ask here is not what will it cost you, but what will it cost you not to have the academia system? And that is the message that I want to leave you with today. If you as an institution has to take the decision on what SIS fits us best, make sure you ask the right questions and make sure you look at the right cost components in deciding which system is most cost efficient. Because we know that academia, in all of these cases, tick those boxes and gives you the ability to get a system and use a system that will prove the value to the institution on your return of investment with regards to cost efficiency. And I think with that, I am going to end this first part of the session and just see, I don't know if Romano is on site. Romano, if you can tell me if there are any questions in the chat box, otherwise I will quickly monitor and just see what's in our chat box.
Honey, there aren't any questions so far. We've just got Peter joining us from the University of Malawi. We've got Lawrence from the Great Zimbabwe University, obviously from Zimbabwe. And I know we've had Gloria in our sessions before. But yeah, we haven't got any questions. It's just a quick hello to all of those who've joined us, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Julene, for monitoring that. Thank you, everybody. I'm trying to keep within the time, so if we rush a bit, then we make sure that next time you join, we don't go over time. If you have any questions, Julene is going to send out the recording. Please contact us. Please speak to us. This same series of webinars on why academia will be repeated